Trump links Greenland push to Nobel Peace Prize Snub, sparking transatlantic crisis. In a striking escalation of diplomatic tensions, US President Donald Trump has directly tied his controversial push to gain control of Greenland to his failure to win the Nobel Peace Prize, saying he no longer feels an obligation to think purely of peace. The extraordinary remarks have reverberated across Europe, threatening to deepen trade disputes and strain NATO alliances. The comments emerged in a text message to Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre on January 18, 2026, that was released by Norway's government. In the message, Trump took aim at Norway over its perceived role, or lack thereof, in awarding him the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, which instead went to Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. Trump wrote that, "Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars, plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America." From Nobel Snub to Greenland ultimatum. This message came in response to an earlier note from Norway's Prime Minister Støre, joined by Finland's President Alexander Stubb, urging diplomatic engagement and urging Trump to de-escalate tensions. Instead of easing the conflict, Trump reiterated demanding that the United States be allowed to take control of Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark. Trump's message stressed national security concerns, suggesting Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. He questioned Denmark's legal claim to Greenland and asserted that the world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. The US president has also tied this demand to a broader tariff threat. Starting February 1st, the US plans to impose a 10% tariff on imports from several European countries, including Denmark, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, increasing to 25% on June 1st if a deal on Greenland is not reached. European backlash and trade retaliation. European reaction has been swift and unified. Leaders have called the tariff threats and Greenland ultimatum unacceptable and destabilizing, warning that the move risks undermining decades of cooperation among NATO allies. The European Union is preparing possible countermeasures against US trade actions, including a €93 billion tariff package on American imports and the potential use of the EU's anti-coercion instrument, ACI, a legal tool designed to defend against external economic pressure. Officials from Germany, France, Norway, and other European nations have said they will seek direct talks with Trump, including at the upcoming World Economic Forum in Davos, in efforts to de-escalate the dispute. Sovereignty and NATO under strain. Denmark and Greenland have both rejected the US pressure campaign. Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen reiterated that the territory should be able to decide its own future, resisting what he called outside coercion. Danish forces have been reported taking part in Arctic defense exercises in response to the rising tensions. The standoff has put the future of NATO unity into question. Trump insisted he has done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and urged the alliance to support US interests, a comment that risks further fracturing ties with European members already wary of American intentions. Economic shockwaves and global markets. Beyond politics, the dispute has unsettled financial markets. Investors have been reacting nervously to the prospect of renewed trade warfare between the US and Europe, recalling the volatility of past tariff battles. Industry groups warn that escalating tit-for-tat tariffs could harm global supply chains and slow economic growth. What's next? With the February 1st tariff deadline approaching, European capitals are scrambling to coordinate responses. Emergency EU meetings are scheduled to explore retaliation options and diplomatic strategies. Meanwhile, Trump's appearance at Davos this week, where he is expected to defend his policies, has become a focal point for transatlantic diplomatic efforts. European officials say they will press the US president directly on both the tariff threats and the Greenland issue. The coming days will be critical in determining whether this crisis deepens into a full-blown transatlantic rift or whether cooler heads can prevail to preserve decades of NATO cooperation and economic partnership.